Once you decide on your occupation, you must immerse yourself in your work. You have to fall in love with your work. Never complain about your job. You must dedicate your life to mastering your skill. That's the secret of success and is the key to being regarded honorably, said Jiro Ono.
What a fantastic quote to begin the session. And so, I agree by complimenting yours by words of Thomas Keller. I quote, "You have to be driven. You have to be focused. You have to be aware." I unquote. Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Avenir 2021, a global virtual career guidance program launched by Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir under the aegis of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman. On behalf of Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir, I, Varun of Class 12,
And I, Gitanjali of Class 8,
from ISWK, take the proud privilege of expressing our profound gratitude to His Majesty Haytham bin Tariq Al Said for the altruistic and noble benevolence showered on the Indian diaspora in the Sultanate of Oman. We, the Indian expatriates, are fortunate indeed to enjoy a world class quality of life in a country that is modern, peaceful, and full of natural beauty. May the Almighty shower His choicest blessings on His Majesty, and may this nation experience peace and everlasting prosperity. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome the Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, Dr. Shivakumar Manikam. We wholeheartedly welcome dignitaries from the Ministry of Education, distinguished officials from CBSE, and officials from the Indian Embassy. A cordial and courteous welcome to all members of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman. A hearty welcome to Mr. Alkesh Joshi, the Honorary President of ISWK Management Committee, and other members of the School Management Committee of Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir. A heartfelt welcome to principals, vice principals, assistant vice principals, HODs, coordinators, supervisors, and the entire teaching fraternity across the globe. I am extremely delighted to welcome students from all over the world, parents, grandparents, invitees, and all our well-wishers. We cordially welcome distinguished members of the business community and members of the educational cell. I feel elated that you, the august audience, are sparing your time out of your busy schedules to invest in your dreams. Thank you, one and all, for your gracious presence here this evening.
cooking is all about people. Food is maybe the only universal thing that really has the power to bring everyone together. No matter what culture, everywhere around the world, people love to eat together. It is with sheer delight and immense pride that I take the privilege of introducing our guest speaker today. He is a combination of both hard and soft skills, infused with energy, creativity, zeal, and passion. He leaves no stone unturned in his arena. A personality of esteem and stature whose services and contributions have affected change in the hotel industry and, of course, mindsets of people. Without further ado, let's welcome our most enterprising, skilled, and passionate chef, Milan Gupta. He is a concept creator, hospitality expert, food photography enthusiast, researcher of cuisines, culture, and civilizations, and a lifelong student of history. His journey so far: growing up in a small model township with a cosmopolitan population gave him the exposure and a solid foundation every child deserves. Of many several blessings, the foremost are his parents, a brilliant scientist for the father and an innately talented and compassionate mother, his first cooking guru. His school Dean Obli Sindri was responsible for his all round development, where he participated and excelled in sports, debating, elocution, extempore, essay and poem writing, art, dramatics, and music. Being a nonconformist and a rebel of sorts, he refused to tread the common path to success and wanted to explore life as an artist who used science and everything that had been the rocks in his founding years. He had found his niche when he got selected to the best catering school in Asia, IHM Mumbai. And from the first day, he knew that he wanted to pursue cooking as his career and his passion. He started his professional career from the iconic Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai and spent over a decade with hotel chains like the Orchid and Marriott. In his quest to explore the industry, he went on to work with large banqueting companies and multi format food and beverage organizations. He was able to traverse the vast expanse and diversity of cultures and cuisines in India and the world while being involved with airlines and even large scale sporting events. But now it was time to create new challenges and tread the path which was not common. He decided to quit his job and start all over again, pursue his passion of cooking and creating. For the last several years, he has been involved with creating new food and beverage concepts, hotels across the country and internationally. He says, "My quest is not over yet. I strive to learn, travel, and explore, create new concepts, and cook till the last day of my life." Aligned to the objective of catering to the diverse needs of our student community, the theme for Avenir 2021 is designed weaving in the nine multiple intelligences among humans, which can be compared to the nine gems that adorn a priceless necklace. The yellow sapphire on day 2 represents courage, confidence, strength, which is an ideal choice for the young ignited minds with good verbal linguistic and naturalist intelligence skills who are looking for their prospects in the field of teaching, journalism, hotel industry, practicing law, politics, etc. And the gemstone aligned to Chef Milan Gupta's personality is the yellow sapphire. Let us watch a prelude of Chef Milan Gupta.
I personally believe that it's not important for you to know a recipe first. If you can understand why it is being done or a certain process is being done and not look at it essentially scientifically, absorb it, feel it. Why is a certain style adopted in a particular style of cooking? Understanding their culture, their lifestyles, understanding their history is more important than knowing how to cook it. Cooking it, if you have the knack for it, will come. Couple of days ago, something got repeated that had happened, if I can think back, 17 years ago. Obviously, there have been several such big or small things, but you approach a table thinking these people are not looking very happy with the food, or at least they don't have an expression on the face. You ask the server, have they said anything? Did you take a feedback? And then you get no answer. And then you decide to walk up to the table as a chef, not knowing what's happening, and you are expecting the worst, really. And the moment you approach and say, I hope everything is going fine with your food, and they all look up and they say, Chef, this food is fantastic, and everybody breaks into an applause. I personally am bad at taking too much appreciation. It doesn't really go down well. But this has happened a couple of times that I can remember. Of course, there have been very high moments as well. But that for me is beyond what you expect. That moment is fantastic. All you can do is, at least that's what I did, put my head low and accept it for the team, because without the team you couldn't have achieved it. But then those are the moments that keep you going.
I would like to request the audience to kindly post your queries in the chat box. So here we have Chef Milan Gupta to share his expertise on culinary arts. The platform is all yours, sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar from India. First of all, let me explain what is Namaskar. Namaskar is basically bringing together duality. And when you bring together duality, what it does is it levels out pluses and minuses. In other words, it's yoga. You know, when you bring together two arms, it's a crackle of energy. You focus on the object or the person, anything, and you control it. You know what they say about Namaskar, and to understand it better is you're not only doing a naman or a salutation to the person in front of you, you're basically saying the soul and the part of creation or the creator that exists within you is the same which is within me. And to that, I fold my hands and bow my head. You must be thinking this is a chef and he's talking like a yoga guru. That's really not my intention tonight. I'm going to take you through the journey of being a chef and so many other aspects of it. Why did I start with the Namaskar? Namaskar essentially is the beginning, if I can say that, to being a better person. That's what I'm trying to be, a better person. Am I close to being one? Well, I'm trying. I think I have a long way to go. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to be. And cooking for me brings out possibly the best that is within me. Now, through this whole conversation with you, I'm going to tell you a lot of little stories, anecdotes, and different things that have formed memories within me, things that I go back to, and things that inspire me. Okay. The topic that I have chosen today to talk to you about is make your own recipe and cook it with passion. Passion for me is the buzzword right here. So let me start with a little story like I just promised. When I was a young boy growing up in the eastern part of the country, um, I remember seeing this young boy, maybe a few years older than me, at a tea shop, and we had possibly stopped to have a cup of tea. And this guy was so happy in a absolutely, not in a very good condition, a tea stall that was not in very good condition, and he was making it very proudly. And he was singing to himself. He was serving with so much joy and pride. His head was held high. I kept looking at him and I thought, have I seen a more happy person? So I asked him generally, the moment he went back to his pot and started stirring it all over again. I don't remember the question, but it must have been something to the effect that, what makes you so happy? What about this tea that you're making? I was stunned by the answer that he gave me, and I remember it. He essentially said to me that, Bhaiya, this is the world's best tea that I'm making. And I'm wondering, is he famous? Is he any of it? The world's best tea? And he said, no, the confidence in him made me believe that this was certainly the world's best tea that he was making. And he was serving it with pride. That is one of the core of my memories, and the passion with which he was making that tea, with full self-belief, whatever he had, whatever kind of tea powder that he had, the milk that he had, the sugar that he had, the ginger and other spices that he added to the tea was his recipe. And he was doing it with passion. That's exactly what I try to think of each time I think about being passionate. And somewhere, maybe it's dimming out, I think about this boy. This is essentially a time when maybe you're feeling a little low. You go back to the past, remember these little things, reflect on it. The past, of course, you must remember. The past teaches you. But the most important thing is being there at that moment. Being there in that moment means what? You could be in a particular place which you're not enjoying so much. Maybe it's not something that you set out to do or imagined or dreamed of. But the fact is, you are there right now. You're doing what you're doing. Rather than suffer it, try to do the best with what you have. Because what you do today essentially is going to ensure whatever you dreamt of. And trust me, there are not so many things you can control. But today is something that you can control. The future you can't control. But what you do today will become the basis of what's going to happen in the future. So, just like the tea stall boy, make your own recipe and cook it with passion. So, as we begin with that, it's essential to understand who you are. Today, I'm speaking like a chef. That's what I've been invited here to talk about. But whatever you choose, first understand who you are. I can tell you about a little bit about myself. Of course, I think I'm passionate, intense. I believe in serious fun and conscious of who I am. Often a little too conscious, but yeah, conscious of who I am. And in today's world of social media and statuses, I think my status is I am a chef and I can't be calm. Now you must be thinking that I must be a very agitated person. I think I am a bit agitated, but I think if I display any amount of calmness, the agitation is there within me. The fire is there, is still there. It's like a duck floating on the surface of a pond. You think it's very calm, but it's feverishly paddling away under the water. That's the kind of uncalm that you should have within you. Very, very calm on the surface, but lots going on, the fire burning within. So find out who you are. I think certain attributes for being a chef or being part of the hospitality industry, which you must have, and that's something that you must know about yourself, is do you have the will to please others? Do you feel like making other people happy? Is it within you to first look out for others before you look at yourself? Therefore, do you have a sense of service? Do you feel like, small example, you wake up in the morning, everybody has their own ritual of waking up in the morning. Just look around you. There are family members. Everyone has a certain need. Are you the one who's thinking, okay, this is my sibling, this is my parent. They generally like to have, let's say, hot water in the morning. Do you feel like before you get your own cup of hot water, do you feel like serving them first? So find out about yourself. If these characteristics are there within you, so I believe is hospitality within you. I'll tell you a little bit of a brief about hospitality industry as I go on to introduce the larger aspect of being a chef. Um, it essentially is within hospitality industry. So hospitality, like I said, is related to service. Anything, any industry which is related to service, where you are front-ending or interacting, or you are in the face of, let's say, a guest or a customer. In hospitality, we call every customer guest. We don't use the term customer. And a guest And as in my culture, Atiti Devo Bhava means any guest is like God. So if you consider that as your basic mantra in hospitality, you are related to service. So hospitality in general deals with travel, tourism, events, hotels, resorts, and so many things which are connected to that. Restaurants, maybe in today's times, cloud kitchens. Even if you are, let's say, at a call center, dealing with requests and things like that, taking orders, that's related to hospitality industry. Now, some of the things that must be popping up in your mind, especially in these times when there were several lockdowns, um, and everything seems to have come to a standstill. I'll tell you a some amount of truth related to what really happened. Travel, tourism, therefore hotels and service related industries really took a beating. Okay. Um, but what's important is what happened immediately after the lockdown. I'll still speak a little more about what happened during the lockdown, but what really happened immediately after the lockdown. A phenomenon developed, a new phenomenon. It was called revenge tourism. Now, could you travel to another country or take a flight to another state or another location? No. What really happened was revenge tourism in a different way. People who had a mode of transport, they drove to the nearest resort or a hotel just because they were cooped up in their homes and frustrated with being within four walls. They wanted to step out. They stepped out. They really wanted to not cook or clean anymore because that's what their daily life seemed to be in all these months. And they essentially moved out, wanted to get some amount of service, feel good about themselves. And the biggest gainers of this revenge tourism were the hotels, which are essentially categorized as resorts. What are resorts? I'm sure you all know about it because we are so well traveled in today's world. But again, what are resorts? Resorts are places which are not essentially business hotels, and people go for leisure. People travel for enjoyment. People travel with family, friends, sometimes even alone. But it's essentially leisure to have free time, to bask in the sun, enjoy the weather, do activities which they don't really get to do on their regular day-to-day life. That's what is resort. Now, resorts in general always made lesser amount of, um, let's say, business compared to the city hotels, which are essentially business hotels where people travel to another city for business. Resorts generally made lesser because resorts were essentially a function of the weekend. People travel to resorts over the weekend, and they essentially on their day offs, they wanted to stay over at a hotel where they got great service, maybe use the pool, had some sport, fun, or even just relax. So resorts in this period of time, which was just after lockdown, the revenge tourism, possibly made more business than they ever made before. And essentially, that was the success side of the hospitality industry. Apart from that, yes, travel still suffers. But as I travel often, I've been traveling since August and September last year. I see that slowly and steadily the flights are getting fuller. Domestic flights in India are getting fuller. People are going and staying in hotels. The hotel rates seem to be going up, which means there is essentially a demand. And that's what is happening. Now, where do you really stand um, as a chef within the hospitality industry during these times? You can say, oh, travel didn't happen, restaurants were shut. What could I have done? Of course, you couldn't have done much, but nobody ever stopped you from making something that you could, given your circumstances within your home, and make business out of that activity. Now, if you look at what really happened during the lockdown, there were, barring a few others, the largest gainers, let's say, were IT related companies, pharma sector, and food. People went out, bought food to cook themselves, or ordered food in from different restaurants that were available on delivery module. People generally ordered food in that sense, or they ordered raw materials to cook at home. Now, even in IT sector, everybody thinks it boomed. It did really, really well. But that's really not the case. There is another side of that coin. The IT industry, I mean, the medium that we are speaking on tonight is Zoom. Zoom existed even before the lockdown happened, but we didn't really know about it. But suddenly, just because we wanted to do meetings sitting in the comfort of our homes or essentially locked down in the comfort of our homes, we use Zoom to meet with people, discuss business strategies, or even kids spoke to their friends on Zoom, or even for that matter, Google Meet. That's a product with services that took place sitting at home. So while the product part of it really boomed in IT sector, the service side of it really did badly. People who were involved with services, who essentially did service related work with IT, didn't do so well. Now, if you look at a hospitality professional who's a chef, what is he essentially doing? Is he providing a service? Yes. Is he creating a product? Yes. So here's a beautiful combination of product and service, both the things. Now, part of being a chef is essentially combining a lot of different things, and I'll come to that a little later. Going back to hospitality industry has really grown across the world. Like I said, in India, we have a concept of Atiti Devo Bhava. Uh, but otherwise, across the world, similar kind of concepts happened. Let me tell you another story right here. And I'm going to introduce to you something that we all hoteliers or hospitality professionals look to create on a regular basis. But let me first start with a little story. It's about a store, a departmental store somewhere in the United Kingdom, where they sold many different products, from food to clothing to a lot of home essentials and things like that. And there walks in a very old lady. In UK, as you would know, the weather uh, uh, is such that you're supposed to wear a weather coat, whether it's for the rains, it's for the snow, or just for the cold. And everybody wears a coat. While you enter a shop or a place, it's heated. So generally, the uh, manner is that you take off your coat and you hang it at the entrance, and then you walk in. This was an old lady, possibly poor, and her coat was torn. One of the buttons may have fallen off. She bought her things, came back maybe half an hour later, paid at the counter, goes back to pick up her coat. And as she wears it back on, she realizes, oh, there is the missing buttons there. And the hole just above the pocket, it's been mended. That that very moment, the moment that that departmental store created for that lady, is a concept called moment of truth. What is a moment of truth? Where you have gone beyond expectations, when you have gone an extra mile, something that a guest did not expect would happen to him in a good way. Now, this whole concept was coined by a gentleman who worked for the Scandinavian Airlines in the 1980s. He coined this term called the moment of truth. And he used this tool to revive his particular organization, the Scandinavian Airlines. Now, this is essentially what we look to create: moments of truth in hospitality. Right now, a lot of you across the world who are watching this particular broadcast might think, what do I do to practice it? essentially the first example that I gave you, things which are unexpected, things which somebody around you did not expect would happen, and you create a moment of delight, a moment where you have gone beyond expectations. So look for those opportunities. If you really want to practice creating moments of truth, look for those opportunities to create that moment of truth. Don't ignore something that you know is out of place or not in perfect conditions. And if it is there within your capabilities to mend it, make it right, make it nice, or somebody just may have thought of something. So it's a lot about reading a person's mind, watching people. Somebody suddenly looks up, he's been eating food. A lot of times when you look at his glass, it's empty. You go and pour water. That's basic hospitality. That's really not moment of truth. But moments of truth actually come very handy when you can create one, when a really sad incident or a bad incident or an incident that make people say sorry to the guest, when you turn that around and make it a positive one. I'll tell you a story about very, very nice friends of mine in today's times who I met almost 20, 21 years ago. I was a young chef at that time. I used to handle room service kitchen, and there was an order for dal makhni with accompaniments and things like that. And in the kitchen, I was a young chef, but I was standing on the pass. Pass is where, where the cook makes the food, he puts it on the counter, the chef checks it, and he hands it over to a service guy, who therefore goes and delivers it. Now, this was the room service kitchen, so that goes on a room service trolley. And just before it got picked up from the kitchen counter, I took a tasting spoon and I checked the dal. The dal had actually gone bad. And the order had already taken some time. Um, the decision for me to make at that moment, and of course, as a chef, you have a great sense of taste and smell. I made out that this was not tasting all that right. At that moment, I really thought to myself, this can go to the guest. The guest may or may not realize this has gone bad. Uh, I just couldn't let it go. Then I checked the entire pot of dal makhni. All of it had gone bad. I said, okay, these were extremely VIP guests, head of a multinational company, staying with us for a long period of time. They had just moved to India. I said, if I'm going to call them at this moment, after the order is already delayed, the guest may just give me a nice dose of, So I said, okay, but let me try. So I went to the room service order taking section. I said, could you connect me to this guest? And they said, okay. They connected me to the room. I picked up the phone. The lady uh, came on the phone and I said, ma'am, this is Chef.Milan and I'm calling from room service. You have placed an order for dal makhni with few other things. But I have to apologize for the delay. They said, no, absolutely fine. Is the food ready? Could you send it up very quickly? I said, here's a little bit of a twist to that. I've taken the liberty to not serve you dal makhni tonight. I'm serving you a yellow dal tadka. And they said, why is that? I said, no, I thought the dal makhni in my kitchen was really not that great quality. And allow me to serve you something different. And I believe you will be staying with us for a long time. Can I also come and meet you along with the order? I would love to take down what you like to eat and things like that. That moment was the moment. I went up to the room with the food and I actually noted down. So they wanted home style food. When people live in a hotel for a long time, they expect to have home style food. So I took down a list of different vegetables that they liked. I especially went and bought those vegetables. And each day for dinner, I would serve them something that they liked. And trust me, 21 years later, I am a very, very close friend of the family. I get invited for special occasions. I have invited them for my special occasions. And that's how a moment of truth. I could have let that pass. The guest could have been very angry. We would have gone on a recovery mode, what is called a service recovery. When a guest is upset, you try to impress them with more, say, free services and things like that. But we didn't have to do that. It was just a phone call. So not accepting something which is substandard is very, very important. And it's not just in hospitality or in the kitchen. It in life. Do not accept and do not pass on something that is substandard. Let me tell you another story. Recently, there's a hotel that I've been part of establishing and developing, and the hotel is in operation. It's a resort property. Um, while a guest was checking into the hotel from the lobby, there was another guest who was checking out. Now, while the lobby was very busy, the front office department, which handles guest check-ins and checkouts, mixed up the baggage. And what happened is both of them had the same model of car. Now, one was coming off and the other one was going away. Now, the check-in guest whose baggage had to reach the room didn't reach for quite some time. One of the bags was missing. So they called up the front office and said, there is one bag of ours which is not reached the room. Could you please send it? And on investigation, we figured we had to go through the camera, CCTV camera feed and recordings and everything. And we realized that their bag had been loaded onto another vehicle and it had gone 4 hours away into, because the other guys were taking a flight out from the city and they were already near the airport. And we had created a bit of a mix up. Now, obviously, we got the baggage back and we went into a service recovery mode. But what was important in the whole story was while we observed the guests, we saw what their habits were and we preempted what they could require. And today, those guests have not only come more than once, they've also sent all their family members saying this is the best hotel. It started off with a mishap, but look at how well they recovered it. So we created several moments of truth. Now, moments of truth should not be taken to the extreme end. Do not over anticipate as well. Anticipate to the right degree. Sometimes it can go wrong. A guest may like hot water in the morning. He may not like hot water for lunch. Now, just by anticipating, oh, he had hot water once, you give him hot water. Or in your own life, you look at a person who is as a specially able person who doesn't have very good vision, is trying to cross the road, and you make the person cross to realize that you've taken him to the wrong side. So when you are creating moments of truth, um, don't go hell for leather. Be conscious. Do it more naturally. Be susceptible to what a person may require, and then go for it. Now, because you're in the hospitality industry and offering services, trying to go an extra mile to create those beautiful moments for a guest. A person, it's in our habit to sort of seek recognition, reward, and therefore growth. I have a very simple thing to say in life and in hospitality. Don't look for the recognition. Don't look for the reward. The growth will come to you because you strive hard, you work hard, the recognition comes today or tomorrow. Today or tomorrow. Um, it will come to you. The reward will come to you. If you seek the reward and the recognition, and if you put in your effort only for those things, you will not be doing it naturally, and you will not be a natural hospitality professional. When you do things for people, do not expect something back. Do it because you are like that. So knowing yourself, like I said earlier, is going to be extremely, extremely important. Um, Realize that hospitality, a sense of service, a sense of welcome, a sense of wanting to delight somebody has to be naturally within you. But after doing all of those things, and if you think a person has not recognized your effort, or a bunch of people in your family or friends around you have not recognized it, um, of course you will feel disappointment. Um, and disappointment is something that you have to learn to deal with. A lot of times you keep putting in a lot of effort and people just don't recognize, they keep asking more of you. But dealing with that disappointment is is something that I'm going to talk about next. So all of us go through different motions all through the day. We work hard in hospitality industry, especially. We work very hard. We service the guests. We help each other out in our workspaces. And at the end of the day, despite your good efforts, one, maybe you didn't get the recognition, or two, maybe you got a complaint. Despite your best efforts, how do you deal with it? First things first, look at the whole thing from a very different perspective. Remove yourself from yourself. Go outside yourself. Look at yourself from above yourself, which means that you are able to critique yourself. You're able to find fault within yourself. Um, while you know that you worked hard, but somewhere within you, you also know that you may have done something that caused that result, which was disappointing. So come out of yourself. Look at yourself from a third person's perspective. What could you have done right? Don't feel sorry for yourself. That's not right. Don't feel sorry. Find a way to bounce back. Very, very important. How do you get up every morning? You've worked very hard. You've worked, for example, in our industry, we work for at least, I mean, from the time I started till now, maybe at that time I used to work for 16, 17, even 18 hours, even 72 hours in a stretch. Even today, I've been in the industry for almost 26 odd years. Even today, there is not a day when I have uh, not worked 12, 14, 16 hours. Very, very important. Um, to therefore be able to bounce back next morning because your body is feeling tired. Um, you had a disappointment, maybe there was a complaint. So find your own way of purging yourself. What is a purge? You remove extra data, but you don't remove the extra data from your system, which may be disappointing or even positive. Don't dwell on your successes. Move ahead. So whether it is success or disappointment, you should be able to purge or remove it or clean up your system. Of course, retain the learnings when you are unsuccessful, because if you were right every time, you wouldn't have learned anything. So success is not the only thing that teaches you. What really teaches you is failure. So don't be scared to fail. But if you failed and didn't learn anything from it, that means the failure went a begging. You didn't use the failure. You didn't use the learning from the failure. But having said that, when you're purging yourself, retain the learnings, but remove the disappointment. When you're purging yourself, remember why you were successful, but don't ride too high on that. Let it not get into your head. So staying positive despite anything that may have gone wrong should be something that you work on. That's something that you train your mind to be. You know. So let's say you for the students who are attending this session, suppose you expected, let's say, 9 out of 10 marks, and you got only 7.5. Don't be disappointed. Find out what happened. Work hard towards it. Stay positive. You might say, oh, I worked the hardest ever in my life. Maybe you didn't work smart. So work smart, make that little change, and get on with it. Stay positive. Now you know why you didn't get 9 and why did you get 7.5. So work towards that 1.5. Maybe you will get 10 out of 10. So, and again, the result is really not important. While a lot of people say result is what makes you, not really, not really. The result will come. It is an outcome of a process. It is not the most important thing. So while you were trying to do something during the process, if you learned about it, that's more important, because today or tomorrow you're going to succeed if you did the right thing. But again, don't be scared of failure. Remove the disappointment from it. Keep the learnings with you. And same is with success. Always try to find out why you were successful. Don't just say, oh my God, I was the best, and that's why I succeeded. Now, with success, success is a relative thing. Success is about, maybe for a lot of people, winning a competition. So competition becomes an important thing that you have to understand. Now, I always tell people, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm competing with myself. I want to get better. But is that really true? While it may be true for the large part of it, but the fact of the matter is, for somebody, let's say you're running a 100-meter race, you are very good at it. And you're, of course, competing with others. You can't just say, I'm trying to better my time. I used to run in, say, 13 seconds. Now I want to do it in 12 and a half seconds. But essentially, in a 100-meter race, you're competing with somebody else. And whoever comes first is the winner. So, of course, you're competing with somebody else. But if you're really good at that game, you are trying to compete essentially with yourself. You're breaking your own barriers. The time, the moment where you feel, oh my God, my energy is totally sapped now, I can't increase that speed, is the time your mind starts working. Maybe the body can't go that fast, but the mind tells you you can go faster. Okay. Where has it really gone? You are competing with somebody else, but the competition started within you. Your mind started playing games. It made you run faster. So eventually, the large part of competition is actually within you. But again, there's another twist to this competition. Let's say, despite all your efforts, you still are not able to achieve a better time in 100 meters race, but you are a runner. You are a good runner. Maybe you're running the wrong race. Change the race. Maybe you have more stamina. Maybe the burst of energy that a 100-meter runner needs is not there. And that's where you're missing out. Increase the distance, change the sport, but you're still a runner. So that's very, very important. Now, let me touch upon another aspect of how you work your mind. What really causes for you to achieve better? It's actually inspiration. Think about it. Inspiration is something that comes from within. Um, it may be a factor of what you see, what you touch, uh, what you observe, what makes you happy, inspires you. Let me tell you some of my inspirations when I was growing up. A very beautiful piece that was uh, done by the host. Uh, she talked about how I was inspired by my mom to begin with. My mom's a wonderful cook, but was she really a cook uh, from the beginning? She wasn't. See, essentially, what inspires me about her is that she essentially became a cook on her own. There was nobody to guide her. She learned by taste, by memory, and she tried it. So, and then she tried to copy that taste and she created it. She didn't know whether it was a particular spice or a masala that went into that food, but she imagined it. And essentially, what she did was go back into her memory and try to recreate that taste. You might come to the next term there, which is trying to copy something. So I see this as a combination of being self-inspired to create that taste, but also copying something from your memory. Now, being a copycat often has a negative connotation. Being a copycat is not wrong. What does a copycat do? It copies something from somewhere and makes it own, but that's essentially not what I'm trying to hint at. What I'm trying to say is when you copy something that is really beautiful, or something that inspires you, but you also give it your own twist. You create something of your own because inspirations are all around us. And that's what often triggers some sort of a positive emotion where we start creating things. You watch a chef on television, he makes a certain dish, you watch a recipe on YouTube and you say, okay, I want to recreate this. But again, um, what you're essentially doing is you are creating, you're copying something, but the creation is your own. What is important is that if you have copied somebody, give credit to who you have copied from. Don't be a plagiarist. Okay. Don't say, oh, this is my recipe if you've copied it from somewhere. But being inspired from somebody, having looked at somebody is something which is something which is very, very possible, which happens to all of us on a regular basis. It happens to me a lot. Now, some of the things that I want to touch upon uh, today is the concept of time and experience. This is something that uh, my host tonight talked about, my journey and things like that. I will also touch upon uh, going forward about the journey that I have taken so far, my experience, the career options, and and so many other things that will come up. Let me first touch upon the concept of time and experience. Now, experience by definition means the amount of time that you may have done something and experienced something. It's relative to time. But you can experience more in less time. And you might think how? It's by working harder on a regular basis. For example, when I first started my career, which was at the Taj Mahal Hotel, Mumbai, we worked many, many hours. But at the same time, because I was at a very initial stage of my learning, we worked many hours, of course. But what was important is to take those learnings. So in 2 years, I would imagine I may have gained double that experience because time, like I said, uh, is what causes for you to be experienced, but time is stretchable. In the same day, I was experiencing more. Um, so in 2 years, I had 5 years of experience. So that's something that you must remember. Uh, Challenges do come when you work hard. Physically, you're pushing yourself. But if you want to learn more in a quicker time and add to your experience, you have to start working hard at whatever you want to achieve. So the next part of the journey and the career options that I'm going to talk about is uh, is as much to for the students and the budding kids. It's also for if there are grown-ups, parents, even teachers who are attending this session. The role of the parents is something which is very, very big. In my life, at the time that I was growing up, one of the things that really happened was one of the things that happened was that I could do a lot of things, but at the same time, the career options were very limited. People wanted to become engineers or doctors. MBA as a field was still very, very young. People did MBAs, uh, but that's another topic for another time. But yeah, very, very few options. But when I chose to join a catering school, my parents were very supportive. They essentially told me if this is what you think you want to do, they supported me and they said, we are here to back you. And that's what happened. So very essential to uh, get yourself educated. Very, very important. Education again is not only about degrees, but the learning part of it. Um, find your guru, find your guide. I have a lot of mentors. They continue to be my mentors, like it was said in the initial part of the brief. Now, because I know the time is running short, I will quickly try and sum it up. Some of the things that I want to tell you, that if you want to be a chef, trust me, you're going to be, uh, and a good chef essentially has a lot of innate qualities. A chef is very disciplined, regimented. We actually follow pretty much the army rule. Um, but more importantly, like I said, there are no time limits. We are there for the guest. We serve the guest. If the guest chooses to eat late, we stay on late. Um, very important aspect of that is also commitment to what you do, the dedication that comes with it, and very important part of it is consistency. Uh, a chef is an accountant. He's a scientist with food. He knows how flavors work, what reacts how. A chef is a leader, and I'm not talking about a cook. I'm talking about a chef. Chef means boss or chief in French. Uh, is a leader, is a manager. A chef can serve. A chef can clean. He can be both in the front of the house and back of the house. And with chefs getting really famous in today's times, um, they're actually the face of the establishment that they work with. There's a lot of credibility attached to a chef when he comes on to speak to a guest on a table or represents the organization. A chef essentially embodies also hygiene, wears whites, and embodies neatness. Chef is actually the most genuine salesperson or marketer. When he says this food is good, invariably the guests choose to go with the choice. And more often than not, they are not left unsatisfied. A chef organizes. A chef is a planner. He's thinking much in advance of how things are going to play out. Even in the most difficult days, you must always remember that if a day begins, it's also going to end. But you are the one who's going to decide if the day ends well. So put in all your effort, plan your backups. Okay. In a kitchen, when you do all of these things, you become a chef. Now, I'm going to end my monologue here. And if there are any questions, I would like to take them.
That was an extraordinary and inspiring session by Chef.Milan Gupta. Dear audience, before we continue, you are requested to fill in the feedback form which will be posted in the chat box towards the end of the session. Filling this feedback form is necessary as it would fetch you a participation certificate. Those who have joined through YouTube are requested to check the description box for the link to the feedback form. Now, we would like to request our most honored speaker, Chef Milan Gupta, to kindly answer a few queries which have been put forth by the audience. Sir, may I invite the moderator, Ma'am Monica, to pose some questions to you. Over to you, ma'am.
First of all, greetings to you, sir. It was a sheer delight to listen to you. I'm sure that this shall be a great takeaway session for our young, inspiring to-be chefs, I must say. And with your permission, could I ask you some questions that have come from the audience, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So in brief, as we are running out of time, could you please answer this question that has come up from one of the students? What challenges one can expect to face in the hospitality industry is the question for you, sir.
Some of the challenges, like I must have covered, but let me put it together essentially for this. Hospitality industry is very demanding in terms of time. Hospitality industry expects you to have innately a sense of hospitality. A lot of people may not have patience to listen to an irate guest who may not be reasonable often, but that's challenging. Of course, there's a lot of physical hard work, and you are expected to be somebody who things on his feet. But if you're going like a machine, that's going to be a challenge for you.
Thank you so much.
Uh,
And yes, there's a small question which would really bring some light to the audience as well. In brief, if you could tell, what according to you is the biggest payback or gain of choosing this career?
the biggest payback is, I can speak by personal experience that the biggest payback is the satisfaction that you get at the end of the day. When even one guest says thank you, my stomach feels good. I enjoyed the taste of the food. That's the biggest payback. Even at home, if your family enjoyed the food that you ate, uh, and they say thank you for a lovely meal, is the biggest payback.
Thank you so much for so patiently hearing the questions, answering them. And yes, it's over to the compeers now.
Thank you, sir, for all your support and guidance given to the large audience by attending to their concerns so patiently during the course of the discussion. Also, a very big thank you for sharing your splendid culinary skills, sir. We have, for sure, a great takeaway from this session. Culinary skills can be learned, but the passion for cooking comes from within.
Dear audience, a gentle reminder to kindly fill your feedback form shared in the description box to fetch your certificates. Thank you. As we draw to an end of this enriching session, I deem it my great privilege to propose the vote of thanks. Let me first express my profound gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said for the magnanimous benevolence showered on the Indian diaspora in the Sultanate of Oman. May the Almighty shower abundant blessings on His Majesty and His country. We extend heartfelt thanks to our eminent speaker, Chef.Milan Gupta, for his words of motivation. It was a delight to have you with us. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you. I must also thank Wadi Al Kabir School. Best of luck for Avenir 2021. And may all of you be blessed with all the good wishes, great health, and great happiness. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your very kind words, sir. We truly appreciate it. Now, our deepest sense of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Shivakumar Manikam, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, and other honorary members on the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. Thank you for your encouraging presence and guidance at all times. A heartfelt thank you to Mr. Alkesh Joshi, Honorary President, Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir Management Committee, and other esteemed members of the School Management Committee for their profound encouragement at all times. I also wish to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt gratitude to our prudent captain of the ship, Mr. D. N. Rao, Principal ISWK. Furthermore, I thank honorable principals of the schools of the MENA region and Indian schools in Oman, vice principals, assistant vice principals, coordinators, supervisors, and the entire teaching fraternity for their support and guidance. Our heartfelt thanks to our chief platinum sponsor, Studyco, gold sponsors, Jain Group of Institutions, Vellore Institute of Technology, Sri Ramchandra Institute of Higher Education, and Grey Matters Academics, bronze sponsors, Middle East College, Thapar University, MIT World Peace University, Pune, and Dallas Baptist University. Our digital partner, Spectrum, our media partner, The Arabian Stories, and valued donors.
I wish to thank each and every student and parent for their valuable presence in making this session a grand success. An event of this kind requires the coordination of a committed team. Thank you to the ISWK team for making Avenir 2021 possible. You have to go wholeheartedly into anything in order to achieve anything worth having, said Frank Lloyd Wright. With these positive words, I, Gitanjali,
And I, Varun.
bid you all a sweet good night. See you in the next session. The two upcoming sessions start at 7 p.m. First, by Dr. Saleh Al Busaidi on embracing environmental sustainability, and second, by ISM International School of Management, Mr. Tegan Taplan. The audience can view the next day's details on the Avenir website, aveniroman.com. Stay tuned and stay safe.
Thank you,